Hello everyone and welcome to the YouTube upload of the Long Lost Family Members feature discussion that we had back on the podcast back in episode 254. And this has been put up on YouTube this week in memory of the poor late Ted Page, who shuffled off this mortal coil last week in Coronation Street before he ever had a chance to grace those cobbles again. So sad, so sad. Love Ted.
You should tell David and Nick it's sad because they don't seem
They don't seem to really care yet, but yeah.
Oh well, that's all I can say is I'm glad they don't seem to have been left any money in Ted's will because they certainly don't deserve it.
They don't. So this discussion we had back a couple of years ago when Gina Seddon reappeared back on the cobbles after, she hadn't been in it for a good 20 odd years, actually 25 years. And we thought, what other family members do the characters on Coronation Street have, and they've mentioned, maybe we've seen them, maybe we haven't, that could make a reappearance on the cobbles one of these days. And it's quite interesting listening to this again, some of the people that we talked about, and some of them that have come back, and some of them that sadly won't be able to. Like, firstly, Debbie, who is the cover star of this YouTube episode.
Exactly, we talk about her because she'd only been in 34 episodes when we were doing this discussion originally. How do you say the actress's surname, Michael?
Oh, now you make me second guess myself. Devaney.
Right.
Devaney.
So we say it in different ways in this one.
No, but she was talking on Lorraine the other week about people not knowing how to pronounce her surname, and it's true because we do pronounce her surname in a couple of different ways. Yeah, in this discussion that we're about to have.
Yes.
In the past.
And we talk about, it's quite funny listening. Because I was like, I'm not really bothered about getting another sister back. It'd be the same story as Gina's story.
Yeah.
Because we did this because of Gina coming back, like you said. And we say a couple of things that are quite funny in retrospect. Like, she has interesting fashion sense, which they obviously wrote that down on the character.
Yeah.
Like personality board when they were thinking about bringing her back. And
earrings.
Also,
on point.
We also said, isn't it weird that she never came back, she never went to Weatherfield since she left it?
No,
and we were talking about how his sisters never come to see us.
And I said that the next time we hear about Ted, he'll probably be dead. So that was sadly, that's prophecy.
But the point of what I was saying about Debbie never coming to Weatherfield, we were saying, oh, well, your sisters never come to see us. It doesn't mean that they're not, it doesn't mean anything really, because usually you gather with somebody else's house, perhaps.
Yeah.
But that was another thing that became part of her personality, like she hates Weatherfield, and that's why she wanted to knock it down.
That's true,
so
true.
Two little establishing character facts there that we talk about, and we're also going to talk about wanting several people to return in the show.
Uncle Umed is just top of my list.
Uncle Umed, but there are a few people that we mention who are now either dead in real life or in the show, so we know they can't come back, but please remember that this was recorded before any of those people departed.
Exactly. So here we go. Here's our discussion. Enjoy. Okay, this week we are going to do a little discussion about family reunions in Coronation Street, potential family reunions, because, as you know, Sally's sister Gina has recently appeared on the cobble since not appearing since 1989 or something round about then. I thought it might be interesting to talk about any other estranged family members that could potentially make a comeback. So we've chosen a few that I'm going to talk a little bit more about, and then
there'll be
so
well for the
a few
Barlows.
more at the end. Well, it has gone well for the Barlows, hasn't it?
No, because they're all think that they murdered Ken.
They do all think they murdered each other, but you're right that Kate Oates brought back the Barlows.
Ken's still alive.
I know. I remember that. They brought back the Barlow clan because she said, I need to get more Barlows back in it, and it worked a treat. Very, very interesting viewing it has made. Even though I'm not a mega fan of Adam, he's still been quite good to watch, and obviously Daniel's been brilliant. Peter's been great having back, and Gina looks like she's got potential as well for Sally. So
there was a moment at which it was possible that if Ken left the programme or died or something, there would be no Barlows left, because it was Tracy and Amy and
Simon, I suppose. But he's
not really.
He's more Leanne's than Peter's,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is ironic because he actually isn't.
And Tracy and Amy could both end up not being Barlows through marriage.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. So the Barlow bloodline is strong once again. But
Thank goodness for that.
But what about some of the other Coronation Street
What about the
families?
Websters?
Well, I don't. Well, there's no male Webster. Oh no, there is. There's Jack, isn't there? I was thinking of Debbie Webster could be an interesting one.
Right.
To
So
bring
who's
back
Debbie
in.
Webster?
So this is one that neither Gemma or I have really watched, nor really knew anything about. So I had to do a little bit of research about this, and this is Kevin's sister. Okay.
So you say.
She is, honestly, believe me. So she's sister to Kevin and daughter to Bill, and she's one of these characters that is not really mentioned at all, ever on the programme. Maybe like once or twice she's been mentioned, but most viewers would not have any clue, would they, that Kevin's got a sister out there, because she's only been in it in 34 episodes. She was in it in between June 1984 and January 1985, and I don't think they planned for her to be quite just a short here and in and out character, but she left because of the other circumstances, which we'll get to. So she was played by an actress called Sue Devaney. Now she's gone on to do loads of TV work. She's back in the 80s and early 90s. She was particularly doing a lot of kids TV programs, but she's been on Casualty for 3 years. She played Liz Harker, whoever that is, I don't know, and she was also in Dinner Ladies. Do you remember that?
I like the show, but I
Victoria
don't
Wood
like the
program.
fact that it's all one word.
It was always written with a small D as well, wasn't it? Dinner Ladies. I know what you mean. Does that get your editor senses tingling?
Makes me want to just correct it.
She played Jane in Dinner Ladies. I think I might have watched the first episode of Dinner Ladies because Thelma
right.
Barlow was in it, who was obviously
Did you
Mavis in
not?
Corrie.
Have we watched it though?
No,
I watched it.
did you? You didn't watch it with me? Well, it was on before we met. But anyway,
Was
so
it?
yeah, it was.
Oh,
So there
weird.
So I'm sure there's lots of people that know this actress, and she's still going, which means she could, as in still in treading the
Still
boards.
going.
So yeah, she could come back.
Not
So
dead yet.
little mini fact file about her. She came in June 84, moved into number 11 with Bill and Kevin when they came into the show, and she was one of these like wild child. She's a bit like Sally and a bit like how Gina was as well. Another nasty. Well, not nasty. She appears that she was a very wild, stereotypical teenager of the 80s, if you can kind of picture what that's like, your blonde hair and everything, and interesting fashion sense. She'd failed her exams, got a job at the cafe because Bill had said that she had to either retake her exams or find a job like really quickly. But luckily, it's really easy to find a job on Coronation Street. So
There's loads.
the unemployment statistics are like the lowest in the country. So probably about the next day, she got a job in the cafe, and that was that. Working with Alma, maybe, I can't remember who was in there at the time. So she was also in a motorbike crash. She had a boyfriend called Daz Isherwood, and that is Daz with double Z. So that's like,
What a cool dude.
what a cool name. Yeah, you can picture what he looked like already, probably just from that name.
Amazing.
But yeah, so
Looks incredible.
motorbike crash, Daz, then he dumped her. And then later on that year, or early 85, I don't know, Bill started dating this woman called Elaine, and then she moved to Southampton. They all moved to Southampton together.
What
so
a lovely place.
I know, it's lovely here. I'm not surprised that they decided to pack up and move away from Weatherfield because they're lovely. She, and that was it. Bill, the actor who played Bill, Peter Armitage, wanted to quit. I don't know why. He'd been in it like 6 months. He's like, I've had enough of that. Although we have seen Bill coming back and forth a lot over the years. But that was the last we got to see of Debbie. The people in charge of Corrie at the time thought it would be weird that Bill moved away and left both of his children here. Kevin obviously stayed, but Debbie had to go, which meant that Sue Devaney had to go as well. She's been mentioned, apparently in 2001 Kevin went to stay with her for a bit. When Sophie went missing in 2010, she was mentioned. I think Kevin said, I've checked with Debbie and she's not there. And then apparently in 2011 she bought a villa in Turkey. So she's not been forgotten, but she has really, a bit like Gina. Would you have any interest in seeing a sister of Kevin return to the show? Because they could give her any personality, couldn't they?
Yeah.
the Barlows, I mean, the Websters seem like they've been diluted a little bit now that Sally's she's not really a Webster anymore, and it's great that Rosie's been back, but the bloodline isn't quite so strong there.
No, but the thing is, it would be in danger of just repeating what's going on with Gina and Sally. It'd be a bit weird if like the Websters were involved in another returned sister, brother, whatever.
Yeah, somebody's trolling Kevin on the internet. Who could it be?
Well, you know what I mean, because the kids, Rosie and Sophie, would be involved in it quite a lot, wouldn't they? And it would just be like the same thing all over again.
I was wondering whether I thought it was weird that Debbie has never visited them in Weatherfield, but then I thought, has my sister ever come to visit us here?
I don't think she's ever been
in the 10
here.
years that we've lived here. I honestly don't think
we've been to her house once.
Yeah, we've been to her house once. I honestly don't know whenever we meet up with my sister, it's like meeting at parents' house, isn't it? So
yeah,
maybe Kevin and Debbie meet together at Bill's over in Germany sometime. I don't know, but I wouldn't mind if they brought her back, as long as she had
sister.
I wouldn't mind if they brought Debbie back, as long as they had some kind of purpose for her, because I do feel that Kevin has been underused a bit, hasn't he? Like when he had that time off a few years ago, it didn't ruin the programme or anything, and even then he's just been having in a bit of a mood in the garage, had his money problems, having a bit of a spat with Tyrone, but he's not. I think he's quite a far cry from the major character that he was. So maybe having another Webster in it would help reinvigorate him somewhat. I don't know. He's actually got a half brother, and I think this person has been forgotten about, because Bill and Elaine, when they moved to Southampton, they went and had a son called Carl. I think they gave birth to Carl in Germany, actually. And then
probably only one of them did. Probably only one of them did.
What?
Give birth to him in Germany.
Probably. I don't think it was Bill, but I'd have to look at that up on Corrie. 1986. They had this son called Carl. Bill left Elaine when she had an affair, and Carl has literally never been mentioned. So he'd be like, how long is that? Like 30? No, 31 now. He'd be, which is kind of a prime age for kind of a hunky young European bloke to come over, but I don't think I'm particularly interested in that.
That would be more interesting than a sister coming.
You reckon?
So how is it related to? How would they be related? It would be their half uncles, Rosie and Sophie.
Yeah, the German half uncle.
It would be quite funny if he came back and he didn't realise who they were, and then he fancied Sophie, but Rosie fancied him. just for a little stupid scene. Yeah,
because that's true. It means there's only like 6-7 year age gap between Rosie and Sophie, and having this German Lothario come over, a
strong jawed blonde Aryan hero come over and with his little funny accent. Oh, Sophie, oh, so beautiful. Oh, let's run away to my homeland of Munich.
It would be a little bit of a coincidence that he would be coming over to Weatherfield. I'm assuming that Kevin and the girls are estranged from them, so maybe he's come over to
over to say,
his real homeland.
Elaine, I'm looking for Elaine.
Yeah.
My mum.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or Elaine's died and I wanted to tell Kevin, and I didn't know anything, so I came to Weatherfield, and as is the tradition for anybody coming to Weatherfield for the first time, I've decided to go into the Rovers and have a drink.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Trying to do anything.
Oh, your English beer is so warm.
Why you not put it in a bottle?
Apologies for our awful stereotypes.
We're basically doing our normal impression of the vet up the road from us.
Yeah, our vet does sound a lot like that. We haven't seen her for 6 months now. We've not needed to. So
she's not a vet anymore,
She's not our vet anymore, sadly. No. Although if the cats from upstairs did get ill one time when they were over,
I know, we think we would take him to the vet. And my mum was saying to me today, oh, he's looking very thin. You should start feeding him.
He's looking thin.
And I said, I wonder whether she's even feeding him herself anymore. I think she thinks, well, sod off then if you don't want to be my cat anymore. Anyway,
right. This Carl coming back could be like one of these stories that's like a story for like 3 weeks and then get him away. A bit like this thing with Jude's story, in for a bit of a weird or drama and then away again. Or actually, it'd be more like, say, Ramsay coming back to be Norris's half brother. That was a good story, wasn't it? But it lasted a month and then Ramsay died. I could see if they were desperate for some Webster family reunion that didn't last for too long and it could have a bit of comedy in there, then they could go with that. And as for Bill, I'd quite like him to come back. We did a character.
I really liked Bill.
I liked Bill. He was just like a nice kind of granddaddy. He was a bit gruff, wasn't he? And a little bit cantankerous. But yeah, he was definitely like one of the lads grown up. I can imagine him like being friends with Johnny or something at the moment.
He could have been friends with Freddie, but Freddie's gone.
He would have been great friends with Freddie, actually, wouldn't they? Because Bill, I know he was a builder. I don't know whether he worked in the garage at all. But yeah, I reckon they could have been quite good together. Now, Peter Armitage has had bowel cancer since then, but he's all recovered from that now. But I would, of all of these, I'd want Bill to come back the most, just because, you know, I know him and I was a bit sad when he left. But I suppose he is quite useful to keep away, so that whenever Kevin needs to take time off, or whenever any of the Websters needs to take time off, it's like, oh, Bill's broken his leg again. It's a bit like Andy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep him in Spain so that Liz or Steve can disappear at the drop of the hat for whatever reason. But yeah, I would be sad if we never got to see Bill again. But
they never come over here to look after our lot, do they?
I know, they're always having dramas in Coronation Street.
My ankle hurts.
Yeah, Rovers is blown up. So is Andy going to come over and look after Liz? No, it's fine.
Not interested.
Car crash. Is someone going to come over and visit? No, it's fine. Not allowed in.
Forget it.
Okay, so that's our possible Webster reunions. Now another one, this ties in quite nicely with all the Barlow stuff that's been happening. We've had most of the Barlow reunions, but there are still a few of them running around, although they're not proper Barlows.
They're not prolific Barlows.
Yeah, so we've got Lawrence, James and Chloe. So Lawrence...
Cunningham.
Yeah, was he? I can't remember whether it was Lawrence Barlow.
Who's Cunningham then?
It was definitely Chloe Cunningham. Let's read it. I can't remember since I wrote these.
Right, so Lawrence, who was played by Linus Roach, who was that?
That was Ken's. That was Will's. That was Bill Roach's son. Yeah.
Yeah. He was in it for 5 episodes as Ken's long lost son, and I really remember this happening. I don't remember the storyline at all.
I know. I was thinking. I know that he's got this long lost family, and I know one of them turned out to be not very nice, and one of them was gay. I remembered, but yeah, this bit about where he came from, it seemed like he was one of these. Let's give someone a long lost son that's out of nowhere, Mary. So do you want to say the story behind where Lawrence popped up from?
Lawrence's mum was Ken's first girlfriend, Susan, who only discovered that she was pregnant when she broke up with Ken, and she told him in a letter, but it got lost behind the skirting board at number 3, and it was only discovered by Emily in 2010. And I bet she clutched her pearls when she found it. Oh, goodness, an affair.
Yeah, that's a bit like, that's what happened to Betty, wasn't it? Because it was Granny Hopkins, we said last week, that found this note behind the skirting board that said that Gordon was really Betty's son and not Maggie's.
I'm going to start hiding notes around this place, and it's all going to be fictional, like...
That'd be amazing.
Secretly, what could you write that's really scandalous? Secretly Hitler's granddaughter.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be amazing. Well, we are thinking of taking our fireplace down, aren't we, at the moment in the lounge, because we know we're well into this home renovation at the moment, and Gemma wants to get a corner sofa to go there, which means taking out the fireplace, which doesn't work. It's just I'd say decorative, but it's fairly ugly. And maybe we will find some secret messages back there.
Yeah, like don't remove this fireplace because it's cursed.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah,
great misfortune will fall upon you.
Lawrence turned up on the street in 2010, 50 years later, and along with his son James, because Lawrence had a very difficult relationship with James because James was gay.
James was played...
James was played by another guy called James Roach, who was also William Roach's son.
I thought it was his grandson.
No. So James Barlow, or James Cunningham, or whoever he is, that's Ken's son. No, that's Ken's grandson, but James Roach is William Roach's son. So you had two sons.
What are you talking about?
Linus Roach and James Roach
are both brothers?
Yes, with a big age gap.
Ooh. Ooh. I don't know.
And they played father and son.
I don't know about that.
Why?
I don't know about that.
What?
See, well, first of all, it's clearly nepotism, isn't it? That's the worst part of the whole thing.
Well,
That's using jobs for actors that aren't related to William Roach. You're pretty all right.
I can't remember why they did. The fact that it's in 2010 makes me wonder whether is there some kind of 50th anniversary of Coronation Street thing. Let's bring in some more Barlows or more
Let's bring in
roaches.
some raw roaches. Oh, dear.
Usually want to get rid of the roaches, but Corrie's bring them in. That's probably sounds like something you find out the skirting board as well. Find some more roaches underneath. Underneath the fireplace.
So unfortunate surname. I think I'd change it.
Or maybe just say it in a posh way like Roche.
Oh, Roche is better, isn't it?
William Roche.
Yeah, but you'd have to change the spelling because everyone would be like, Roach!
Okay. Anyway, James was gay.
Let's talk about that.
James, the character, was gay, which Lawrence, he wouldn't accept that. But Ken obviously was like, of course, that's absolutely fine, you can be gay this day and age. So he fell out with Lawrence, which is why he only turned up for 5 episodes and then he was banished. And that's the reason why he's not been in any part of the will discussion, because they are most definitely cut off, this family. So Lawrence was homophobe, and then James turned out to be a little bit of a swindler, didn't he?
I guess so. He worked in a charity shop and then he worked in a homeless hostel, and then he got Sophie and Sian, who was Sophie's girlfriend at the time. They should have got married, but they didn't. To help him out. And it turned out it was all a massive scam. And somehow the girls gave him £20,000 of Kevin's money.
Yeah, he managed to con them. I think it was like, oh, we need some extra money to expand or
this
whatever.
Nigerian prince.
I think, I can't remember, I'm making this up. But I might be right in saying they went on to Kevin's online banking and transferred some money over to him. I think this is when they brought Dennis Tanner back as well, because this homeless shelter was where they found Dennis and brought him back to the street. That's someone that they need to bring back.
I remember that.
So they got £20,000 of Kevin's money, but it's all right
Wasn't
because
that
he'd won the
scratch card money,
yeah, exactly, that was scratch card money. He'd won the lottery.
It's easy time to go. Like that guy. Did you see that guy in the papers today? He won. What was it 100 and something million? He won like £100 million or something. Or I'm probably making that up. On the lottery.
There's lots of that goes on this podcast.
No, they're making stuff up. And then he told he had a son, and he said to his son, I'll look after you. You guys are set for life. You don't need to worry about money anymore. And then he gave him £1 million. Yeah. And then his son just spent it all, and then demanded more. And his dad said no, and they had a massive argument. And so the son took him to court to say that his dad should be giving him money for the rest of his life. And the judge was like, nope.
There's the storyline, everybody.
No.
Write that down, Corrie writers. Anyway,
it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was a good story. So James
apparently they were spending £20,000 to £30,000 a month. This couple, the son and his girl. Well, I think it might be a husband actually.
I would struggle to do that. I don't think
that's what I said. Apparently the judge was like, "This is ridiculous amounts of spending." I was like, no, not really. I could quite easily spend £20,000 and not even realise I'd done it.
And we'd have to buy a new house first. I don't think we could quite fit anything like that.
No, but you could like go to London, go and stay in a posh hotel, fanciest suite, fanciest food, spa.
Sounds good. And no work.
Buy a dog.
Most importantly.
Buy a really cool dog.
We would get a dog if we won the lottery, I promise.
Oh, yes.
So,
I won the lottery. I won £5.60.
What, this week?
No.
Once.
Yeah, once.
Since 1994 when it started. Anyway, back to James. Yeah, so he also nearly conned Ken and Deirdre into remortgaging number 1 at the time. Ken found out. James fled Weatherfield. He banged Ken's head on the wall and knocked him out in the process. So
Ken's like, who pushed me?
Yeah. Maybe this is James back for round 2.
It could have been. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the absolute befuddlement around the nation? Everyone except the podcast listeners.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened. Maybe they told us that when we went to visit the set. No, they didn't.
Right.
Anyway, I'm not particularly interested in those Barlows coming back.
They don't need those Barlows.
They do not need those Barlows. They were brought in as a bit of a like, oh, look at this. We got more.
Oh, look at these Barlows.
Look at these new sons. Look, we got William Roach's sons on here, just as a bit, they might as well not exist. I wouldn't mind if they were retconned out. I don't want to see them again. It's a bit like Haley's son Christian. They didn't need to bring him back. We don't need to see these people again. Who I would like to see again,
yes,
but I know that we are never going to, is Uncle Umed.
Love Uncle
Dev's
Umed.
Uncle Umed.
I wish he was my Uncle Umed.
Dev never has anything to do. He's got nothing to do at the moment apart from be a comedy buffoon. So what better than to have his comedy buffoon uncle to make a double act out of? And I think probably the sounds of this is making many Coronation Street listeners' toes curl, because he's one of these characters that if you like him, brilliant, and you want to see more of him, but more likely than not you might have found him a little bit irritating and annoying, because you know how Dev can be a bit annoying when the writers want to give him something funny. Uncle Umed was that up to the max, basically. He was in it for 42 episodes in 2009,
and he was a very stereotype kind of jolly Indian guy,
shopkeeper.
Like
how more stereotypical could you get?
Yeah.
He was played by Harish Patel, who's he's gone on to do a few more other things. He's still in the biz as well. So he came over from India to visit Dev, didn't he? And he was just there for it. He was a bit like, he's like Brian Packham, wasn't he? He was just there for the funny
like
comedy
Mary
aside.
And florists.
Yeah, like he said that he had inspired the band Corner Shop because he had so many corner shops. And
who remembers Corner Shop anymore?
Lots of people remember that one song that they did.
Yeah, one song.
He was around when Dev was in a relationship with Tara something or other, and she's the one that had that massive naked picture of Dev put down Victoria Court. You remember that one?
Yeah, but I don't remember her doing it. I don't know who Tara is.
Yeah, no, she. I don't remember much, but it was something like Dev. She was the daughter of someone else that Dev was maybe seeing, or something like this. I can't remember. But anyway, she was a nasty piece of work. So anyway, he was a bit suspicious of that. But yeah, he was mostly just there for the laughs. Like when the water mains burst in Coronation Street, he decided to jack up the price of water in the corner shop. He had a curry competition with Teresa Morton during the Summer Fete. The thing that I remember most for those last two were, I did get off Corrie, but I do remember he had this irritating doorbell installed in the shop, so that whenever somebody came in, I think it played that "Why Do Birds Suddenly Appear" song.
Oh jeez.
And just irritated the whole of the neighbours. And I can completely see why lots of viewers hated him, but I found him very funny. But then I find Rosie funny, I find Brian funny. I enjoy having that kind of character. I kind of find Dev funny, but he's also really cringy, isn't he?
Yeah, but Uncle Umed wasn't cringy to me.
No, he was.
Something about Dev makes me think, if they said, "Oh, we're going to unveil a secret about Dev, and he's actually been murdering women in Weatherfield for the past 30 years and burying them under his shop," I'd be like, yes, I knew something was weird about him.
I just think that Dev seems a bit too forced, and Jimmy Harkishan hams it up, doesn't he? He's like, I don't get scenes very much, so I'm going to give it my all in this. I
think he's just something a bit scary about him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't get a scary vibe from Dev. But I'd love Umed to come back, or we can't have Vikram back because he's still in it. I think he's in Emmerdale at the moment. But Umed went back to India after having a bit of a gambling problem or something. And yeah, that was the last he saw of him, and I don't think he was even mentioned again since. The guy, the actor, what's his name, Harish Patel, he's still done loads of stuff. He's most recently been in the TV adaptations of David Walliams' books. So like David Walliams he's like, as a teacher, I know that children love his books, and he's very Roald Dahl in his writing style. And there's been lots of BBC One Kids adaptations, and Harish has been a shop owner, a corner shop owner, believe it or not, called Raj.
There are loads of diverse roles for Asian actors.
There are, but yeah, he obviously likes being Indian shopkeepers.
He just likes getting money, which is fair enough.
Yeah, well, so why not come back to Coronation Street? I would absolutely love it, but I don't think we will. But the fact that he is still in acting does give me hope.
Well, there's no reason why he can come back, because we like him. So
yeah, what more excuse do you need?
Amber is played by Nikki Patel.
Speaking of Alahans.
And she was in it for 2 stretches. She's been in 248 episodes, and the first lot was between 2005 to 2009. And then she went off, and then she came back in 2011 to 2012 as a horrible cow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I was quite surprised to see that she was in it for 248 episodes. That's enough to make her a individual standalone character profile at some point. So we maybe won't get into too much detail on this one.
Well,
but she was utterly different when she came back, wasn't she?
When she came back from university.
I can't remember how old she was when she. I mean, yeah, I guess she was late
18,
teens, wasn't
19.
she? When she left, but she was just nice, kind of.
She was just a normal girl,
wasn't
yeah.
she?
She's really, they should bring her back, but she's probably a bit too old now for it to be interesting to me, unless she gets in with.
I think that she'd be interesting to come back because of the Sophie angle, I suppose, but I don't want her back if she's horrible.
Let's talk about it. She was the sort of secret child because Dev had an affair with a shop worker, and she was born with that.
He had an affair with lots of shop workers, played by. And I can't remember, and I looked this up this morning, and I feel really bad. But it's an actress that I really like, and Conor McIntyre posted a picture with him and her this morning. And I'm just going to keep on talking while Gemma finds the name of this actress. How am I supposed to know this? Just look on Conor McIntyre's timeline.
Oh my gosh!
Because she was in a play, or she was at a play with him last night, and she's the one who played Constable Habib in The Thin Blue Line, and she was in Doctor Who the other day, getting turned into a skeleton. And the actor.
Well, I don't know how to find is. I'm on the wrong Twitter account.
That nice actress. Anyway, she was Amber's mum, and I would absolutely love her to come back into Coronation Street because I really liked her in The Thin Blue Line, basically. And people are probably shouting at her name. I don't know how much longer I can keep this going.
Just stop being annoying. You're being really annoying.
There she is. Her Twitter handle isn't even a help because she is not called Hilda Baker. She is called Mina Anwar. There we go, everybody.
I've got more followers than her on Twitter. We almost have. Are you sure it's the same person?
That is her, Mina Anwar.
She hasn't got a tick.
She's lovely. It's her. It's definitely her.
Let's get her a tick.
Okay. Right. Anyway, Amber was her daughter, yeah, and she basically moved in with Dev when her mum moved to Finland. She helped out in the shop. She fancied David for a bit. She worked in Valandro's, which was Leanne's doomed restaurant that she torched because, believe it or not, Leanne used to be a bit scally. But then, yeah, she left Weatherfield because she was going out with Daryl Morton, and Dev paid him to dump her. So that was it. She went off to university, didn't she? But she was generally a nice kind of girl. Brought her back in 2011. Changed character. Edgy.
She went to university, and Coronation Street seems to not like university.
Well, it's not done Daniel any harm, has it? Unless he turns out to be some major psycho.
Yeah, so she came back, she befriended Sophie, and then she ended up kissing her after they got drunk out together, and she led the sort of the ruining of Sophie and Sean's wedding.
Yeah,
it got stopped in the middle. It was going to be the first lesbian wedding on.
It was going to be, and there hasn't been one since either.
No.
It's going to be the first lesbian wedding, but Amber told, I can't remember if she told Sunita or Kevin or somebody, so it was all broken up, and that was that. And then Amber went, well, she hung around for a couple more months, and then she got fed up with living with Sunita and having to stick with Sunita's rules, and then went back to London after calling Sunita a horrible old cow, basically.
And
I bet she was laughing on the other side of her face a few months later whenever, was it a year later? I can't remember when Sunita died. But,
and she rushed back to the street to comfort her father.
No. But it's interesting how Dev never ever mentions Amber. Again, Dev's never really in it to mention Amber, but I think that there could be a possibility of her coming back into it.
Do you think that they would recast her? And
they couldn't they?
Is she the same kind of age as Rana or Alia?
I guess so. I
think she would be.
I mean, she'd be in her mid to late 20s now, wouldn't she? That's the kind of, Coronation Street likes actresses that age. So if they wanted to bring a sexy, slinky female back into Coronation Street, why not? And because I don't think she was ever properly lesbian or ever properly bisexual, or she just she was just having a kind of a bit of a laugh, snogging Sophie, and then maybe I do, and then no, maybe I don't, and she was. I never really bought that she was actually bisexual, it came across to me as this is a time when characters are forcing this character onto her, this personality onto her, just for the drama. And it didn't work. I'd like her to come back if she was going to be nice, but I'm not desperate.
Do you want her
back.
Do you want her to be the same actress?
I had no problem with the actress. I thought she was absolutely fine.
I quite liked her. Yeah.
But they could recast her, couldn't they? It's not like I got an iconic look or anything.
She was very girl next door, and that's why I kind of liked her.
Which is why I think they could recast anyone.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they brought her back and they recast her and they made her like sexy, and then it'd be like, oh, I can almost just imagine in the soap magazines like Corrie's Bollywood babes, like these three sexy Asian actresses.
Her earlier in Rana. Yeah, they could, couldn't they?
I think it'd be more fun if she was just like normal.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I think you're right. They would bring her back sexy, and I think they would probably they would have to have her having a relationship with Sophie, wouldn't they?
I would like that though.
Not. I think if they came back, she would be. They would make her lesbian or bisexual, which would be interesting,
Why not?
And they would make her have an affair with Sophie. Because that's all
they
seem to do with Sophie. Like, what's we do with her? Let's give her a girlfriend and let's break her up because they're boring together. And probably Amber would end up being another in the line of those.
It'd be interesting to have a gay Asian woman on the stream.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right, Ted Page.
Ted Page, next
Speaking
potential
of
comeback.
People who are gay.
Yes, indeed. Gay old person this time.
Yes.
Played by Michael Byrne. Speaking
of people who don't know quite what they are. Well, because he starts off not being gay.
Well, he might have been gay all that time. You never know. This is back in the 50s.
Yeah, he started off...
He wasn't not gay in the 50s, but they decided to make him gay when they brought him back in 2008.
That's the thing. You can't really say much about these characters because...
Yeah, there's so little
they get
of
retconned,
them.
And in real life, you would say he was repressing his sexuality, but
exactly.
Character-wise, he just got rewritten.
Yeah, let's make him gay.
So he was played by Michael Byrne for 73 episodes between 2008 and 2010, and this guy he's been in quite a lot of stuff, hasn't he? He's in Casualty, and he's also in Deathly Hallows Part 1. I remember seeing him.
He played Grindelwald, which is what Johnny Depp is going to grow up into.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
but Johnny Depp surely is not that far off an age from
73.
He's a shambling.
That's just the drugs that have done that to him, I'm sure.
Of a man. I hate Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
I've got
we've got 4 more Fantastic Beasts films to look forward to.
I know when he was. When they said he was going to be in it,
I do wonder whether I know I'm not really happy with him in that. But I wonder whether they would get Michael Byrne as a bit of a flash forward to future Grindelwald. I don't know. He was only in it for like 2 scenes, wasn't it? In a dream sequence or something. But anyway,
so naughty Ted Page got Audrey pregnant in the 50s, and he didn't realise. I suppose it is an instant.
What?
It's not really instant, is it?
No.
You don't know straight away.
His stomach doesn't just go.
I think you just got pregnant. Left for the army. Ended up in a relationship with a man called James in the 80s, married in 2006, and then James died the following year. So at some point between the 50s and the 80s, he realised
definitely gay.
That he definitely likes men.
Yes, there was some kind of other mention of him in the 90s or something, because I think I've got a deep dark memory in the pit of my Coronation Street memory banks of Audrey showing Gail a picture of her dad Ted for the first time in the mid-90s, and this is when her brother Stephen came back into it. We'll talk about him in a minute as well. And I don't remember particularly what she said about him, but she said, yeah, this is your dad Ted. And so he was invented, I guess, back then, but it wasn't until 2008 that they decided to bring him in. Came to visit, just sort of popped by.
I just love the fact that Audrey's got a gay dad. I just love it.
Gail's got a gay dad.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant.
There are many generations of the Platts, but we haven't got Audrey's parents. That'd be silly.
Why?
Because they'd be anxious.
Could have had her when she was really young.
Because they would be Bethany's, how many times great-grandparents.
Excellent. Audrey got in touch with him in 2008, and he came to visit. So this is 2 years after his husband's, or it wouldn't have been husband then, would it?
No, yeah, it was. They were. They married.
Oh yes,
they married when they could, which is straight away in 2006.
Good for them. She got in touch with him. He came to visit, bonded with his new family, got quite friendly with Ken, and then Blanche accused Ken of being gay.
That was so funny.
I would love it if Ken was gay.
It's very un-PC, and you think, I couldn't do that these days. It was only like 10 years ago. But the comments that Blanche was making about Deirdre being married to one of those homosexuals.
Oh yeah.
it was
people are so
hilarious.
sensuous these days, aren't they?
Yeah.
I reckon if I was going to be a Corrie producer, my first move would be to make Ken gay.
I've been hiding it all this time.
I would love it to see. I would just love to see people foaming at the mouth in indignation about how mad this would make them.
I think that I don't think that would work.
Sexuality is fluid, Michael. Everyone's on a scale. Right, he had a heart attack, did Ted, when David tricked Gary into robbing Audrey's house when Ted was house sitting, and he didn't know that he was in there.
Because David and Gary were they were mortal enemies at that point, and Gary also was inspired to join the army because of Ted. And I remember there being a scene at the Rovers where people were wearing their poppies around there, and Gary's like, what's the point of this? Why are they wearing poppies? People know what they're signing up for when they join the army, blah, blah, blah. And Ted was like, how dare you? You offend me. I used to be in the army. And then he kind of got friendly with Gary after that, and he convinced Gary to go off.
So when Gary came back and started whinging on about his PTSD, everyone went, well, you knew what you was getting into when you signed up.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went and lived in London after that, did Ted. He just bogged off. He was around for Gail's wedding to Joe. But that was it. He couldn't even go and see Gail when she was in court because he had the flu, apparently. And as I say, he's too busy being Grindelwald for 2 scenes, and I assume some other things since then to come back.
He sent Gail a birthday card in 2016.
Yes.
That was nice of him.
It was nice of him to remember. I would really, really like Ted to come back. I don't know what he'd do. He'd probably be like Dennis Tanner when they brought him back and they didn't really know what to do with him. There's nobody around that they could like pair him off with, unless, like you said, with Ken. I don't know. But I'd love to have him round because he was so nice, wasn't he? He was very calm. And
he is lovely.
He was like the perfect Werther's original granddad.
He really is. He was really, really nice, and like you say, he's got this kind of a stately kind of presence. And if I was a man, and of that age, I think he could turn me gay. He reminds me like, if I was like as a woman, I think if I was a certain age, the only person who could turn me is Joanna Lumley.
Oh yeah, he was a bit like a male Joanna Lumley. He was just so utterly nice.
So charming and elegant and relaxing.
I suppose he was a bit like Freddie as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A little bit, but a bit older, calmer and even
Freddie
smoother.
gave off more of a working man vibe, didn't he? Whereas Ted was always quite aristocratic in a way.
He reminds me a bit of
But I'm probably remembering it wrong.
I know. I like to kind of make these things up when they're faded from my.
Replace it with something else.
He reminded me a bit of that Yellow Pages advert with the fly fishing by J.R. Hartley.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a great advert.
Yeah, I don't know what story they could have. I don't know what story they could have with Ted, but I just want him back to add a nice aura of calm to Coronation Street sometimes when it's needed.
More soothing people there.
Yeah, and I guess we might hear when Ted dies. Usually they're not too bad at remembering characters' deaths, are they? I mean, characters' parents' deaths. They'll mention it if they want to have the character leave for some reason. So I do fear that the next time we hear about Ted will be when he's yeah, exactly. Now speaking of Platts that could come back, there is possibly Stephen Reid, which is Gail's brother we mentioned earlier. I've not got any great desire for him to come back, but and I'm not even sure whether he would because the actor is he's still quite big actually.
Oh, this is Steve. Oh, they talk about him, don't they?
Yeah, Uncle Stephen. He's the guy that lives in Milan at the moment.
Oh,
yeah, you remember him. Yeah, so he's played by Todd Boyce. He's been in 47 episodes in 96, 97, and then again in 2007. So if he'd come back every 10 years, he's kind of due to come back this year. Now he's the spawn of...
So he's an American pretending to be a Canadian.
Yes, he's an American actor pretending to be a Canadian.
Usually it goes the other way around.
We can't tell that kind of thing over here, but I'm sure that Canadian viewers are like, no, don't have Stephen in, he's not Canadian
not real.
at all. No, he's this spawn of Audrey who was who she had to give up because, you know, unwed mother and all that. So his neighbours, the Reid family, looked after him, but then they moved off to Canada. So he came to Weatherfield. This
reminds me of Miley.
It is a bit Miley-ish, yeah, absolutely. He came back to Weatherfield to get to know Audrey a bit better in 1996. Attracted the attentions of Alma for a little bit because he was doing business with Mike in the factory. And then went back again, and he was a bit like we said with Andy and Bill. It was handy to have a family member live the other side of the world, so that if one of the Platts wanted to go away, like Nick, then it could just be, oh yeah, I'm visiting Uncle Stephen. And I think Nick left the show twice to go back to Canada to live with Stephen. One at a time, coming back with a different head. So last time we saw him was Christmas 2007. He came in and invited David to come and work for him in Milan because he had this business there now. Then he realised that David was a bit of a git, so he invited Sarah instead, and that is why Sarah and Bethany went to Milan, and that is why this is why Bethany has got a really thick Italian accent.
Strange, isn't it? Here I know that.
Yeah, so
he's been in a lot of things.
He has been in a lot of things. I didn't realise this, and some of the things that he's been in, we've watched, and I have not realised at all that it's been him. Like Mr. Selfridge, he was in. I don't know whether it was an episode we'd been in, but apparently he played a guy called Mr. Krenel. He played, I don't know who that is. He was in Kick-Ass 2, and I do try and forget that film because it was so awful.
It was an abomination that actually made Kick-Ass
No wonder Jim Carrey disowned it before it came out. He was the chief of police in Kick-Ass.
Chief
of police. The chief of police.
The cheap ass police.
He was in The Crown.
He's in The Crown.
We loved The Crown. He played USAF general.
Yeah, that doesn't sound... He was probably in it for one episode.
Yeah, he was an announcer in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them last year. I don't remember there being an announcer, but next time we watch
we are going to watch the heck out of that.
We're going to look out for this. So he's obviously got one of these faces.
He's in Sherlock. He's in Hollyoaks. He's been in video game voiceovers.
He's been in like he's I can't remember something. Call of Duty or something like that. He's done voiceovers for. So he does a lot of stuff. So I don't think he needs Coronation Street at the moment.
Never turned down a paying gig.
I don't really think that Coronation Street needs him either, so I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see him again.
No,
he was a bit dull. It's nice to have a bit of a foreign accent every now and again.
No, I don't like Americans in the show.
He's not American, he's Canadian. Oh yeah.
He is American.
He is American, the actor's American. And then the last one, which we kind of do a big talk about, is probably out of all of these, this is the character that I'd like to come back the most. And like Uncle Umed, I don't think everyone's going to agree, but Jackie Dobbs. I absolutely love Tyrone's mum, played by the Good Sex Guide host, Margie Clark. She's been in 66 episodes so far, in the late 90s, 98 to 99.
Good Sex Guide?
Yeah, I know.
How do you know this?
Because I remember reading about it.
Oh.
In 1998 when she came on, they were saying Good Sex Guide to play Deirdre's cellmate.
Was that a TV show?
Yeah, it was on 3, I think. Late
night
ITV.
Did they even?
Yeah, they had.
Right, 1998,
and then 2008, 2010. So she was very. We were looking at some pictures of her earlier on, and she was very glamorous when she was in prison with Deirdre, wasn't she?
Yes, she knew she was on telly.
Yeah.
She dolled herself right up. She shared a cell with Deirdre.
Yeah, I remember. She reminded me a little bit of, you know, in Orange Is the New Black, the one that always wears the makeup in that. She's very glam. But she shared a cell with her, and she. There was a bit of kind of tough love really, because I think she kind of roughed Deirdre up a little bit, but she also was very loyal and protected her from like the other prisoners and the prison officers who'd been wanting Deirdre up.
It's awful how people get beaten up in prison.
I know. It's tragic. This is happened with Rob as well, hasn't it?
Not right.
Does it happen in real life, or is it just fiction?
Yes, it does happen in real life, because I was listening to a podcast about Mara Hindley today.
Ah, of course.
I obviously don't like her, but I just find it horrible to think that people get attacked in prison.
I know, and you do get the idea from watching these programmes that the prison officers turn a blind eye to it, don't you?
Yeah, and you remember
I don't know how much that reflects real life. But...
Yeah, when we watched Line of Duty and they kept spitting in their food and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those two that were like answer with yes or no.
Yeah, and apparently, Myra Hindley, they used to, like, spit in her food and, like, the prison guards would put salt in her tea and, like, wee on her stuff.
The prison wasn't bad enough. I know. Anyway, Jackie was great. She, I
mean, she deserved it. But...
Deirdre was released, obviously. Free, the Weatherfield one was free. And then Jackie then turned up on a doorstep later in the year, so wanting to move in, because she's like, you owe me one. She got a bit of a reputation among the street residents as being a bit of a mouth troublemaker. She was a very stereotypical kind of Liverpudlian lass, like very kind of loud, very brash. She called Audrey a stuck-up cow. She also made eyes at Les Battersby.
It's quite the catch.
Yeah, I know. And then Tyrone turned up as well. Little Tyrone. If you haven't seen pictures of what Tyrone looked like when he first appeared in the show, do a little search.
Pretty much the same as what he looks like now.
I know, he's so cute.
He is cute though.
It's a bit like Ashley, isn't it? When you look at pictures of Ashley when he starts Coronation Street, it's like, I can't remember, I forgot he looks.
Even
like
as a grown man, I think Tyrone brings out the mothering instinct in women because he just looks like a big teddy bear.
I was just going to say teddy bear. I'll give him a hug, don't you?
Do you want a cup of tea, teddy bear Tyrone?
Anyway, so Tyrone turned up and they squatted together at Curly's house when Deirdre ended up throwing them out because they were such a bunch of scally chavs before chavs were even a thing.
Chavs.
So
Townies.
Tyrone eventually contacted his dad. She came and whisked Jackie back up to Liverpool. So she came back again, pink-haired, debt-ridden in 2008, and she manages...
Just like Christina Aguilera. I don't know.
Pink-haired and debt-ridden.
I don't know. That's alleged. No, I don't know. I don't want to...
She
don't
managed,
want to disparage
she managed to con Tyrone and Molly out of their wedding savings. Then she came back again for the wedding, but she wasn't invited, obviously, because she was a bit of a conner. She snuck into it uninvited in a black wig, and then
Jenny Bradley special.
Oh yeah, it's probably the same one. They probably just dyed it and gave it to Sal, didn't they? And then
no, because it was black as well.
Was it? I thought that Sally and Matthews had a brown wig, dark brown wig. I don't know.
Black and brown's the same thing.
It was very it's very shady scenes.
When it comes to wigs,
I don't know. Anyway,
God, you fussy you, aren't you?
No, it wasn't brown.
I think you're fine.
Actually, it was dark brown. Anyway, she pinched Tyrone and Molly's honeymoon tickets and then scarfed off to Paris. Then she came again in 2010 to have a bit of a fight with Molly after the whole. This was when Molly was having an affair with Kevin, and Jackie accused her of having an affair, which she obviously was. And then she left again after Molly got pregnant. So she's around that time she was in and out for a few years, but sadly, or probably not sadly for most Coronation Street viewers, because I don't think she's that popular, she's not been seen since. By the time Molly died, she was back in prison again. She has also been in a few TV roles since. Margie Clark has. She's been in Waterloo Road. She's been in something called Puppy Love in 2014. So she's still getting her acting jobs.
Is black.
Oh, Gemma has found. Yeah, fine.
It looks pretty black to me.
Jenny Bradley's wig looks pretty black there. You're absolutely right. You're obviously a bigger Jenny Bradley fan than me, that's what I say.
No one loves her more than I do.
I would... Oh, it'd be amazing if she came back. If anything, to give Tyrone a story, because they're very.
But he's having a great storyline at the moment about stuff in his yard, and he doesn't like Kim.
Oh yeah, no, I think bring Jackie back, inject a little bit of life into it. The only thing I'd worry about is it'd be another Scylla situation where she obviously came back and Wendy Peters was like, oh yeah, we toned her down a little bit now, and she just wants to be a mum. I wouldn't want Jackie to come back. I wouldn't want Margie Clark to come back into it and just be a nice mum with osteoporosis kind of thing. But if she's going to come in and be a bit of a troublemaker, absolutely bring her right back. Love it.
Who else?
Who else? We haven't got any more notes, but.
Tinkers. I loved the Tinker clan. I really had high hopes for Sinead when the Tinkers came into it, and then they all buggered off and left her with Chesney, and she just got miserable and crap. Yeah, I can't imagine them getting on with. I mean, how would you feel if there were scenes with them and Daniel?
I wouldn't mind. I think they'd probably find him a bit dishy, didn't they? They fancied Jason, who was there fixing the radiator. I think it'd be fine.
I know, but I don't think of Daniel as a comic character. I like him for the drama.
For suave drama.
Suave drama.
Yeah, I would happily bring the Tinkers back. I like how they're there, in the wings, just waiting if they need to. But I just don't think that Coronation Street has got any real desire to develop Sinead, really.
No, what about Billy's brother then, Lee?
I think we've seen the last of him, honestly.
Homeless. That seemed to be quite interesting, and then it disappeared.
It was a big mystery for a month or so last year. Who's this dodgy fella that's stalking Billy? Oh, it's his brother. That's quite interesting. He's got a brother. Oh no, he's gone now.
And he's gone.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a never mentioned again kind of thing. Unless a new producer or whatever comes in and say, oh, I know what we can do to inject this. Let's bring back Billy. Let's bring back Lee for a bit. I'm not interested in him coming back, honestly.
Sylvia, Roy's mum. Want her back?
Yes. We need a battle axe on the street. But, yeah, we still haven't... We still don't... what was the actress's name? Oh, that shows you bad. I can't remember. But, yeah, the way that she left.
If I could find out one behind the scenes bit of gossip, it would be what actually happened.
Well, she had a sick brother, didn't she? But there was
well, he died.
Did he die? I couldn't remember.
Because she made that weird statement of my brother was killed, like as though someone had done it.
I remember that really well.
But because I found the entire thing so intriguing, and the way she made the statement made it sound like somebody at Coronation Street had killed him on purpose. And she was taking it out on them. I just found the whole thing very bizarre. Yeah,
I'd still love her to come back because we need a battle axe, and she's still there in spirit. Sometimes her little portrait is there in the background in Roy's scene.
And when she was on the show, she was kind of gathering a reputation as being a beloved old battle axe, just like Blanche.
Yeah, exactly.
But since she's left, I think this is what makes me think something bad happened between her and the Corrie producers or something, because they never talk about her in a nice way at all. They're always being horrible to her.
They are, aren't they? Like, I've always got to go down to Hastings to look after horrible Sylvia.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder whether they take it out on the characters'
I bet they
reputations do. And, as a kind of proxy for getting at the actors.
I bet they do sometimes, but they obviously never admit to it.
Something horrible happened, I'm convinced of it, and that's just my own conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
and if anyone knows secrets, can you tell me? I won't tell anybody.
We're highly professional, and we keep our secrets.
Well, we have got secrets.
We have got some secrets,
yeah. Like our secret
Would you
baby.
like to see Andy come back to the street?
No, who's that? Oh,
and
not really.
Steve's brother.
I can't see a point of him.
Yeah,
I'd find it annoying, and it would be... He's superfluous, isn't he? There's no place for him. He's got... Steve's got enough mates, and I think he's got more mates than most of the other people on the street. And he's already got so many relationships. I mean, Steve, you can draw a line between Steve and pretty much everybody. He doesn't need an extra person who's only his brother.
Andy serves his purpose as being someone to go and visit.
Yeah, he would be related to Liz and Steve, but other than that, where would Andy fit in? And Andy would have to forge new relationships with other characters to make him interesting to me, and that you might as well bring anyone back. Don't need him.
I reckon that Andy and Jenny Bradley could be a thing, maybe. But I think Andy has come in occasionally since he left in 98 or something, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if we do see him again, but just for a wedding or a death or something like that. But I think like if Liz is ever killed off or anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Andy comes back. But yeah, he doesn't need to stay, like you said.
What about Chaz and Fizz's brother Billy? Who the hell is that?
They have got a brother. They've got another brother. Who knew?
From another mother?
The same mother, in fact. He's an older brother who is a soldier or something. He's been in it once. I think he came in it for Scylla and Les's wedding. But he was mentioned more than that. But he's another one that's like doesn't really need to come into it. No reason for it.
Chesney and Fizz, neither of them are interesting to me right now. If they brought back Billy, it would only be for boring drama.
Yeah, don't need it.
And honestly, the shine has gone completely off of those two for me.
No, I still like Fizz, but I know what you mean about Chesney. What about Dylan, Sean's son? Do you interested in that little family reunion there?
How old is he now?
He must be.
He can't be that old.
God, I bet
6,
he is.
7.
I would say 10, but that'd be a complete stab in the dark.
Just say numbers.
No, I can't remember off the top of my head.
2. 18.
He's less than 18. I think I've said before, I'd quite like to have Dylan back in it, if only to give Sean something to do. I'd like to see Sean as a parent. It would probably mean that something horrible would have to happen to Violet to bring Dylan back on a permanent basis. Don't really like child characters, but maybe give him 5 years or however many years until he's a teenager, and I think that might be quite interesting for Sean to have a new family member in his life. And is that about it? I don't know. There's probably loads of characters that we've seen.
To tell you who I always wanted to see, and that is Steph and Luke's mum and dad.
Yeah,
because there really seemed to be something going on there when her nudie pictures came out, and her and Luke were talking about their parents or something. I just thought, something interesting is going on there. What's that about?
But we've literally never seen them.
No, I really thought they would be
maybe
in
more
it.
chance when Steph was in it, but I've got a feeling that Luke might just like hang around for a little bit and then leave, because he's still a bit of a side character, isn't he?
Anna's brother, you've written.
I've written Anna's brother.
I don't know who that is.
Anna has apparently got a brother.
Don't care.
I don't know. Don't care. Move on. What about final one then? Would you like to see either Mary or Erica's tyrannical mother make an appearance?
I would like, and if you're going to retcon the show, and they obviously like retconning the show and making stuff up that makes no sense.
Well, Mary's mother has already died on the programme. Let's not forget.
If we're going to retcon things and put stuff in that makes no sense, here is my proposal.
Go.
Mary and Erica's mother turns up and it's the same person. And all along, they've been sisters and they never knew it.
That'd be hilarious. It could happen.
It actually makes a bit of sense, because they're always being...
Yeah, and they're at the right age and everything. Yeah, I would see that. Get Julie Walters in, obviously, because I think that's the fan choice to play Mary's mother. She is probably a better heard but not seen character, isn't she? Mary's mum. But
I wouldn't want her to be in it, honestly. It's like Fat Brenda.
If Mary was to ever leave, and obviously I don't want her to, maybe then bring mum into it. But
I think it would be so awesome if Mary left and she said, "Oh, my mum's picking me up," and then it turned out it was like... I tell you what, you say Julie Walters, but do you know who would be more amazing?
Who?
Judi Dench.
That's who I meant, because in my head they're the same person. Judi Dench.
Why do you think Judi Dench? Do you know who Judi Dench is?
Judi Dench is M, isn't she? She's
Why
a James
do you think?
Bond.
But what makes her a comic character in your mind?
Not at all. She isn't. But I
Is
always
that
get
the- is
those.
that the joke?
I always get those two mixed up.
I'm saying it would be
either of
funny.
them could be
Listen
good.
to what I'm saying. I think it would be funny if it was Judi Dench, because it's completely improbable that this woman who's completely balmy and Mary is just as nutty as Mary is actually played by one of the most stiff upper lip women that we've got.
No, I know what you mean. Actually, I don't know. Maybe Julie Walters would be better. I don't know.
You don't even know who they are.
I do know. In my head, sometimes they are the same person.
No, they're not at all the same. That's Judi Dench.
Gemma is showing me a picture for the benefit of the tape.
Is it because they've got names that begin with the same?
Julie Walters is Molly Weasley, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They play completely opposite people.
Yeah, but they look the same, don't they? They've got the same
They don't
haircut.
look the same. They've got different faces.
No, they're the same. I'm not very good at faces.
You're rude.
Right. Anyway, that's about it. As much as I think I might like Mary's mum being in it, there'd probably be a bit of disappointment unless they cast the most amazing, well-known, beloved British actress like one of these two. So out of all of those, Jackie Dobbs is my pick for coming back. Who would you like to see the most out of who we've talked about today?
I didn't know I had to pick.
You do have to pick. I sprung that one on you.
Uncle Umed.
Uncle Umed. Well, he would obviously be my second choice as well. Although a nice bit of Ted Page might be good as well.
Oh yeah, Ted Page.
Listeners, what do you think?
Tell us.
Are there any estranged family members that you would like to see back? And can you think of any good storylines for them? Because we clearly can't.